The death of someone we love changes our lives forever. We gain a constant companion called grief. No matter where in life you are or how stable you think everything in your world is, there's no way to prepare for what it will do to you. There's no way to possibly be prepared for the feelings, the pain, and the sadness that will suffocate you. You'll never be ready for the heartache and numbness that losing someone you love will do to you. Losses abound in life. We would prefer to avoid it. When our heart has suffered a major loss, it can be exceedingly difficult to even have a desire to live again or look for ways to be happy. That's totally understandable. When the time is right, you'll know it. You'll feel it in your heart. It won't be easy, and some days will be better than others. If you've suffered a major loss, you most likely already know by now that grief is tragic, dark, messy, and brutal. It completely knocks you off whatever course you were on and leaves you incapable of managing even the simplest task. The idea of even daily tasks like sleeping, eating, shopping, and paying bills is now as trivial as it is impossible. Grief can be an incredibly isolating and lonely experience. Despite the many people around you that offer support, no one really understands the aching loss you feel right now. Every loss is as unique as the relationship we have with the one we love. I've learned through the personal experience of losing my spouse that the grief journey requires mourning. Mourning is the outward expression of our thoughts and feelings. For example, placing flowers on a grave, crying, or listening to songs that remind us of our loved one. When we mourn, we're being an active participant on our journey. Grief is pain, anger, sadness, and what you think and feel on the inside. We all grieve when someone we love dies, but if we want to heal from the grief, we also have to mourn. When we're mourning, we're faced with acknowledging the reality of the death. This involves confronting the reality that someone we love will never physically be in our life again. That's hard to do. If the death was sudden or anticipated, it still may take weeks or even months for this to happen. To survive, we sometimes don't want to deal with the reality of what happened, so we continue to tell the story of the death repeatedly. This replaying of the death is an especially important part of the mourning process. The more we talk about it, the more real it becomes in our mind. This process can take time, and we need to be patient. It's my experience that sometimes our heart just needs time to catch up with our mind. For me, the mourning process required me to embrace my loss, which is something we naturally don't want to do. Sometimes it's just easier to avoid or deny the pain of grief than it is to confront it. But if we confront our pain, we can learn to reconcile it. By experience our grief, we become more familiar with our pain, and experiencing that pain can help us to heal. As a grief specialist, I help others that have lost a loved one, and their stories are the same. Their relationships may be different, but their grief journeys are all similar and follow a non-linear road like my own. By helping other people that are going through the pain of loss, I feel that I'm honoring my spouse and the love we shared. In this way, I can heal my own pain and see the good in life. The love I had for my spouse is a part of my story, a good part of my story. I want to be a survivor of my loss instead of a victim. I no longer let grief dominate my life. Instead, I live around it. It's a part of me now. My grief is a reminder of my loss, which is something I'll never forget, nor do I want to forget. Although it has been almost 10 years now since my spouse died, some days it feels like a lifetime ago, and other days it feels like only yesterday. The one thing grief and life have in common is they're both so fluid and ever changing. My life now is so different, just as my grief has changed over the years. Sometimes I feel like if I went back in time to when it happened, I wouldn't even recognize myself. I've changed. My loss changed me forever. The sadness and sorrow are no longer as intense as they once were, but the grief remains. It's just changed form and taken a back seat to everything else in my life. I have some incredibly happy times in my life now, and some incredibly sad times too. That's just the way life works. Although grief will always be a part of us, the pain won't sting this bad forever. One day you'll wake up and realize you haven't cried in 2 days, and for you, that will be a triumph. Although your loved one is physically gone, the pain will subside and you'll keep going. You'll survive this pain and this mess. You may not believe it now, but I can tell you that you'll come out stronger than you ever were before. Although we grieve, there is hope in the aftermath. If you want support as you travel your own personal grief journey, my book, Grief, Hope in the Aftermath, offers you a comforting hand to help you steer through the rough waters. By sharing my own reflections and those of people I've encountered along the way, I put the issues of life and death in perspective and ultimately give you the courage to move forward. Although you may never totally accept your loss or recover from your grief, this book will help you find hope in the aftermath. On Amazon, this book is usually $15.95, but right now, for a limited time, it's being offered at a 30% discount and is available for only $11.16. That's a significant savings. You can also get the ebook or Kindle edition for only $2.99. All the proceeds from this book are donated to help support those that are grieving by offering free support through my workshops and groups for those who can't afford it. I hope you find comfort within the pages of this book, and I appreciate your support.